Here is what happened in each chapter in Red Dead Redemption 2 in less than 12 minutes. Thank you for clicking on this video. Because of that, here is our gift to you. It's up to you if you want them, but just so you know, it's first come, first serve. All you have to do is redeem each code scattered throughout this video. Let me know if you want anything in the comments section. Subscribe to the channel if you love Red Dead Redemption. Alright, it all started with Prologue. Prologue sets the stage for the game's narrative and introduces the main characters and their dire situation. The game begins in 1899 in the wake of a failed ferry heist in Blackwater. The Van der Linde gang, led by Dutch, is fleeing from law enforcement and bounty hunters. They are struggling to survive in the harsh, snowy mountains of Amberino. The gang, in desperate need of shelter, stumbles upon an abandoned mining town called Colter. The harsh blizzard forces them to take refuge there. Arthur, Dutch, and Micah go out in search of supplies and shelter. They come across an O'Driscoll gang camp and manage to steal supplies and information about a train robbery planned by the O'Driscolls. During their search, they find a house that was attacked by the O'Driscolls. Inside, they find Sadie Adler, whose husband was murdered. The gang takes her in. Arthur and Javier Escuela set out to find John Marston, who is severely injured and stranded in the mountains. They find him and bring him back to the camp. Dutch decides to rob a train owned by the wealthy industrialist Leviticus Cornwall, who the gang had crossed paths with earlier. The robbery is successful, but it draws the ire of Cornwall, making him a new enemy of the gang. With the immediate threat of the blizzard subsiding and having gathered some resources, the gang plans to move out of the mountains to find a more permanent and safer location. The prologue effectively establishes the dire situation the gang is in, the harsh conditions they must endure, and sets up the central conflict with Leviticus Cornwall. It also introduces key characters and their relationships, hinting at the tensions and dynamics that will play out throughout the game. Chapter 2 sees the Van der Linde gang relocating from the snowy mountains of Amberino to a more temperate and lush region called Horseshoe Overlook near the town of Valentine. This chapter is where the game opens up, allowing the player to explore the world more freely and engage in a variety of activities. The gang sets up camp at Horseshoe Overlook, located in the heartlands of New Hanover. This area provides the gang with more resources and opportunities to gather funds. Arthur and several gang members visit the nearby town of Valentine. Arthur helps out Javier in a brawl at the local saloon, leading to a confrontation with a group of local thugs. Arthur accompanies Uncle, Tilly, and Mary Beth to Valentine. Here, they encounter various townsfolk and cause a bit of trouble. Arthur travels to the town of Strawberry to rescue Micah Bell, who has been jailed for causing chaos. After freeing Micah, the two fight their way out of the town, leading to significant bloodshed. Arthur goes hunting with Hosea Matthews, learning about legendary animals and honing his tracking skills. They encounter a massive bear, which Arthur can choose to hunt or leave alone. Arthur is tasked by Leopold Strauss to collect debts from several individuals. These missions often lead to confrontations and moral dilemmas for Arthur. Later in the game, and this is my favorite mission to be honest, Arthur and Lenny get drunk in Valentine, leading to a series of humorous and chaotic events. Throughout Chapter 2, Arthur interacts with various gang members, strengthening bonds and learning more about their backstories. These interactions are critical for character development and understanding the gang's dynamics.
Cheers! Cheers! Is that you again?
Chapter 3 sees the gang relocating to Clemens Point, situated on the shores of Flatiron Lake in the state of Lemoyne. This chapter involves the gang's entanglement with local feuding families and their attempts to secure more funds for their continued survival. The gang sets up camp at Clemens Point, a picturesque location in the swamps of Lemoyne. This area is rife with conflict between two rival families, the Braithwaites and the Greys. Dutch and Arthur befriend Sheriff Lee Gray, who offers them work. They try to play both families against each other. Arthur and Lenny aid the Greys by dealing with some troublemakers in the town of Rhodes. We also help Beau Gray, who is in love with Penelope Braithwaite, despite their family's feud. Arthur helps them meet secretly and later assists in their escape from their families. Arthur and Dutch, along with some gang members, help the Greys bust a moonshine operation run by the Braithwaites. They secretly plan to use this to their advantage. The gang plans a heist on the Greys, but it turns into an ambush. Sean McGuire is killed, and the gang is forced to fight their way out of Rhodes. In retaliation, the gang assaults Braithwaite Manor, rescuing Jack Marston, who had been kidnapped by the Braithwaites. The mansion is set on fire, and Catherine Braithwaite reveals that Jack has been taken to Angelo Bronte in St. Denis before she dies. With the Braithwaite and Grey conflict escalating and no longer safe at Clemens Point, the gang decides to relocate. Arthur and John clear out the Lemoyne Raiders occupying the manor. Arguably, Chapter 4 is one of the best chapters in the game. Let me know what you think in the comments, which chapter was the best. Chapter 4 focuses on the gang's activities in the bustling city of St. Denis. The gang engages in various heists and schemes. Why, you may ask? Simple. We need money for Dutch's plan to work. Right, Sister Abigail? Moving right along. The gang moves to Shady Bell, an abandoned manor in the swamps outside the city. The city is a vibrant, industrialized urban center, a stark contrast to the rural and frontier settings of previous chapters. Arthur and Dutch meet Angelo Bronte, who offers them opportunities in exchange for favors. Bronte initially seems to be a valuable ally, providing the gang with jobs in the city. Eventually, Arthur, John, and Dutch deal with the aftermath of the feud, confronting Bronte and getting Jack Marston back from his custody. The gang storm Bronte's mansion, kidnap him, and feed him to an alligator, severing their ties with the crime lord. The gang attempts a major bank heist in the city. The plan goes awry when they are ambushed by law enforcement, resulting in a massive shootout. Hosea and Lenny are killed, and the remaining gang members narrowly escape by boat. Chapter 4 highlights the gang's desperate attempts to secure a large sum of money through various heists and schemes in the city. The chapter reveals Dutch's increasing instability and Arthur's growing disillusionment. The gang's relationship with Angelo Bronte ultimately leads to betrayal and revenge. The failed bank heist marks a turning point, with significant losses for the gang and their forced escape from the city, setting the stage for the events in Chapter 5. The surviving members end up on the island of Guarma after their escape from the city. They get involved in a local revolution against a tyrant named Alberto Fusar. The gang eventually escapes the island and returns to the United States. Remember to leave a comment on what I missed so far so I will be aware. Here is the apex of the game. Chapter 6 is one of the most intense and pivotal chapters in the game. The gang is in disarray, with internal conflicts escalating and law enforcement closing in. This chapter is the bottom of the iceberg. We see the unraveling of the gang and Arthur Morgan's personal journey as he grapples with his mortality and seeks redemption. The gang relocates to Beaver Hollow, a cave in the Roanoke Ridge region of New Hanover. This area is rugged and remote, providing some temporary refuge, but also isolating the gang further. Arthur's health continues to deteriorate due to tuberculosis. He begins to reflect deeply on his life and the choices he has made. He becomes more determined to help those he cares about, especially John Marston and his family. Later on, we will help Rains Fall and his tribe, who are being oppressed by the U.S. Army and industrialists. The player continues to aid Rains Fall in recovering sacred items and documents. He also tries to dissuade eagle flies from violent rebellion. Following this, Charles convinces Arthur help a group of Native Americans by stealing vaccines intended for them but withheld by the Army. Arthur and Sadie rescue John from prison, reinforcing Arthur's determination to protect John and his family. We later, with it, the help of Wolfie, blow up a bridge to disrupt the U.S. Army's operations against the Native Americans. Eagle Flies launches an attack on the Army, and Arthur assists him despite knowing the futility of the fight. Eagle Flies is fatally wounded, and Arthur comforts Rains Fall in his grief. Arthur discovers that Micah has been working with the Pinkertons, betraying the gang. Dutch's increasing paranoia and erratic behavior cause more friction within the group. We later confront Micah with the Pinkerton rumor, but Dutch refuses to believe and sides with Micah. The chapter's climax varies depending on the player's honor level. Arthur helps John escape from Dutch and Micah's clutches, ensuring John can get back to his family. Arthur and Micah have a final showdown. Arthur, weakened by tuberculosis, is either killed by Micah or dies peacefully if his honor is high. Alright gang, 2 more chapters left. Epilogue Part 1 and 2. This is where we switch protagonist from Arthur to John Marston. Set a few years later, John Marston tries to start a new life with his family. He works at Pronghorn Ranch and tries to leave his past behind. Epilogue. Part 2 continues the story of John Marston as he attempts to build a new life for himself and his family after the events of the main game. This chapter brings closure to many of the game's storylines and sets the stage for the events of the original Red Dead Redemption. Beecher's Hope, a ranch located in West Elizabeth, becomes the central setting for John Marston's efforts to establish a new, honest life. John, Abigail, and Jack move to Beecher's Hope, and John begins working hard to turn the rundown ranch into a prosperous homestead. He takes out a loan to buy the land and starts making improvements with the help of Uncle and Charles. This is when John and Abigail had several disputes about his dangerous lifestyle. Abigail leaves for a while, taking Jack with her. John focuses on ranch work and bonding with Jack, trying to prove he can be a responsible father and husband. Sadie Adler continues her bounty hunting career and enlists John's help on several jobs. This allows John to earn extra money to support his family. John works with Sadie on various bounties, which helps him stay connected to his past while earning a living. Sadie discovers Micah Bell's whereabouts and informs John. John feels compelled to confront Micah to avenge Arthur Morgan and settle old scores. After a confrontation with Abigail, John decides to join Sadie and Charles in tracking down Micah. John, Sadie, and Charles locate Micah in the mountains. They engage in a final, deadly confrontation. During the fight,
How's that,
appears and, after a tense standoff, shoots Micah, allowing John to finish him off. Dutch leaves without further conflict. After the showdown, John returns to Beecher's Hope, where Abigail and Jack have come back. John proposes to Abigail and they get married, marking the start of their new life together. The epilogue concludes with the Marston family living peacefully at Beecher's Hope, but with a sense of foreboding. Federal agent Edgar Ross, who will play a significant role in John's fate in the original Red Dead Redemption, is shown watching the ranch, setting the stage for the future.